Great.
Yep.
Okay. With that, the December 18th, 2020 Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting is now in session. It is noted for the record that commissioners are attending this meeting via a web meeting. Commissioner Patel is excused, and a quorum of commissioners is present for today's meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the internet, and a link is posted on the Oregon Lottery website. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Telfer?
Here.
Commissioner Wilcox?
Here.
Chair Sathot?
Here. Will the clerk also inform the commission of who else is in the meeting?
Yes, we have Jose Tyvidal, Director Barry Pack, Janelle Simmons, Kathy Ortega, Kathy Stromberg, Kris Skaro, Matt Selby, Mike Wells, Ty Calandrello, and Nate Carter from DOJ.
Thanks, Alisa. Members of the public had the opportunity to provide written comments to the commission for this meeting, but we have received no comments, so we'll move to our next agenda item. Commissioner communications. Let's open that up. If there's any of the commissioners would like to make a comment, now would be the time.
Well, just want to wish everybody happy Merry Christmas next week and stay safe and healthy.
Thanks, Kris. I'd also like to add that at the close of this year, I just want to once again thank the lottery for its leadership, its ability to weather the storms this year. I think you've set an example for other agencies and in your ability to care both for your employees and for our business associates, our retailers, and also handle the needs of the state. So I just want to thank you and wish you all happy holidays as well. With that, we'll move to the director's report. Director Pack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, good morning. I'm starting today with some sad news, unfortunately. Lottery's former rules and policy manager, Mark Holt, passed away this week from pancreatic cancer. A longtime lottery employee, Mark was a fixture at our commission meetings before his retirement in 2018. And from all of us here at Lottery, I'd like to extend my condolences to his husband, Jeff. I'll move on now to some changes happening with player services. It's no secret that 2020 has forced Lottery to make some major changes in the way we operate. One of the most visible changes for players has been the prize payment process. With our offices closed to the public, winners have had to mail in their claims, the exception being winners above $50,000. It's the #1 complaint we heard from players this year, and staff have worked diligently to come up with a solution that improves the claim process while maintaining public health standards. To provide our players with additional ways to claim prizes above $600, we're installing a new door and walk-up window to the player services area. Using a mobile app on their phones, players will make an appointment to claim their prize in person. The scheduling app and new entrance will allow us to control both the volume and flow of traffic through the player services area. Additionally, for winners who don't want to come inside and don't want to rely on the US mail, we're installing a secure drop box next to the walk-up window for players to safely submit their winning tickets with a completed claim form. Construction will begin in the coming weeks, and we're excited to offer these new claim options as soon as possible. On the sales front, the biggest story this month, of course, is the 2-week freeze and subsequent restrictions on indoor dining in 29 counties that began December 3rd. Last week's video lottery revenues were approximately 6% of what they were the prior year, operating only in the 7 counties not listed as extreme risk. Keno, impacted by the same restrictions, luckily had a very strong 8-spot jackpot last week that tempered some of the expected losses. For the silver lining, scratchets are performing nearly 50% above last year's levels. Much like we saw in the initial March through June closures, scratchets have experienced a marked increase in response to video lottery closures, and we expect this to continue alongside entering the peak period of holiday sales. All three jackpot games are experiencing positive sales growth this month as jackpot levels climb. Mega Millions is at 291 million, Powerball at 287, and Megabucks at 5.7. Scoreboards saw quite the month in November with over 800,000 bets totaling more than $25 million wagered. December's current pace is slightly less, but the return of NBA play should provide a boost to comparable performance by month's end. Overall lottery revenue in fiscal 21 is currently down about 12.5% year over year in this challenging times. In terms of winners, as I mentioned earlier, we've greatly reduced the number of winners coming through our doors and the number of employees in the building. As a result, we aren't capturing as many winner stories, but we did happen to catch a lucky winner just this week. Moving forward, we're exploring how we can leverage technology to engage with winners without a face-to-face interview. Vanessa Oettinger of Tigard was checking her Mega Millions tickets when it hit her. Was that last ticket 4 numbers or 5? Taking a closer look, she realized she matched 5 numbers. Before getting too excited, she handed the ticket to her husband, Craig. What, did we win $1 million? Craig jokingly asked her. Yes, she answered plainly. The couple matched 5 out of 5 numbers, but not the Mega Ball number, on the October 16th drawing, winning $1 million. If the win was a shock for the Tigard couple, it was an even bigger shock for Sherry Daniels, owner of the King City Liquor Store. The longtime lottery retailer has seen its share of jackpot wins that for some reason just keep happening. The store has a history of selling jackpot tickets, but its trend has increased in recent years. The $1 million Mega Million prize is the second time in 3 years the King City store has sold a ticket that won a large prize. In October of 2018, the store sold $8.5 million Oregon's game Megabucks ticket. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report, other than to thank the 3 of you and Commissioner Patel for your service this year. It's been a rough year to be helping set policy here at the lottery, and we appreciate your time and efforts and commitment to both the lottery and the state. And I wish you all very happy holidays and a happy new year.
Thanks, Barry. Questions or comments from any of the commission? Hearing none, let's move to the next agenda item, the minutes. The minutes of the previous commission meeting have been circulated to the commission. If there are no changes to the minutes, is there a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes of the Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting held on November 20th, 2020 be approved as final as presented today.
Thanks. Do I have a second?
Looks like it's going to be Julie and I today, so second.
Thank you. Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Safa.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. With that, Kathy Ortega, would you like to run us through the financial report?
Certainly. Good morning, Chair Sathoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Kathy Ortega, Chief Financial Officer for the Oregon Lottery. And we're here to briefly go over the financial report for month ending November 30th. Looking at the monthly operating statement for the month of November, we're starting to see some of those negative variances on the revenue line resulting from the closure, with under budget or under forecast by about 21.4 million. The 2 negative variances today are in games equipment, parts and maintenance, and depreciation. We did buy some game sets for the VLTs, and those were budgeted in a different period. On depreciation, we had a catch-up entry. We have begun deploying the Aurora equipment, and we had 2 months that we had to get caught up to make the year-to-date depreciation right. When we get to the year-to-date statement, you'll see that we are on budget, but there was a catch-up entry in there for all of the activity resulting from deployment. Salaries, benefits, and wages is negative, largely because we got, excuse me, an invoice from the unemployment office for all of the unemployment claims that we paid out over the summer. And so we recorded that this month. We were on the net profit line, we were under budget by 15.6 million. Going to the year-to-date statement.
Kathy, could I ask you a question? Maybe it's also pertinent on the year-to-date, but just trying to ground me a little bit here. On the variance in net revenue, we realize that this is a COVID, all of this is somewhat COVID related, but the recent lockdowns, is the timing such that we're seeing that impact here, or are we going to see the last 2 weeks and then another further impact for the new 60 days? I'm just trying to get my bearings on timing of this. Does that question make sense to you?
Yes. What you're seeing here is the lockdowns that were in effect through November 30th. Any lockdowns that were in place December 1st and forward, you're going to see on the December statements. So to the extent that we have lockdowns or rolling closures, it's going to continue into the future.
Right, but the lockdowns recently have been stricter.
Yeah.
And so are those, I'm trying to remember when that started. Did that start in November? So we're seeing some of that here.
So Barry, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the lockdowns or the county-based stuff start December 3rd?
Well, the 2-week freeze started in November. So November 17th was when the governor announced the statewide freeze. The county by county risk assessment started December 3rd. So what you're seeing in this report, Chair Southoff, is about 2 weeks of a statewide freeze on restaurants, and so no video play. And what you'll see moving forward is then the 29 counties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. That helps me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. On the year-to-date, we are under forecast by about 5.9 million on revenue. We are positive in our other categories that we had some swings in the month, resulting in a $10.5 million unfavorable variance on the net profit line. Under services and supplies, we had the one relevant variance that I'll talk about is the intergovernmental charges. As is the case that you've probably heard me say every year for forever, it feels like. We're negative on that line because all of the charges for our financial audit, which we just completed, and the CAFR is now published, are front-loaded in the first part of the fiscal year, and the budget is spread over 12 months. I also have the balance sheet here for your consideration today. And with that, I'd be happy to, or attempt to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions or comments
Kathy.
from, sorry, go ahead, Kris.
Thanks. Kathy, I have a question. Let me see if I can find it. It's on the year-to-date operating statement 3-year comparison. Obviously, I have too much time on my hands to read every detail. So I'm just questioning, what's the $30 payment we made under raffle, or at least it's a negative under raffle? And I don't know that you know the answer. I'm happy to.
Can you tell me the page number that you're on?
25 of the packet. It's page 25.
Okay, I got to get there. Just bear with me for a second.
I think
Sure.
it's, yeah. Page 4, I think, of your
Of that
statement. Yeah, of your statement. Mhm.
Sorry, trying to track along here.
It's under revenue where the raffle is listed. Just kind of curious. We haven't had a raffle for a while, and all of a sudden.
That's the year-to-date statement, and it probably reflected some of the test tickets that we had to generate that we wrote off, is my guess.
Oh,
I will have to confirm that and get back with you.
okay. I just thought I'd give you a really hard question today.
There's always, raffle doesn't ever come out to the dollar like we think, because we do have to generate chest tickets and then take care of the accounting on that. So my guess, it has something to do with that.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy.
Kathy, you know everything so much. We live to find something that you can't be definitive about. Okay.
Well, there's
Well, I
probably
thought maybe
that.
I thought maybe it was a timing difference, and we could throw another quarter in the jar.
Well, you can certainly call it that if you like, because it probably has something to do with it.
Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve the monthly financial statements?
I move that the Oregon State Lottery financial statements for month ended November 30th, 2020 be approved for the record as presented today.
Thanks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Sathoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. Thank you, Kathy. Can I ask just a question that isn't related to our approval, but it has to do with the report you provided to us on the business modernization budget for the 5 months ending November 30?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I just want to know, is this where we thought we would be? We're not spending what we had hoped to spend. And I know that we've had to rethink timing on a number of things, but is this where we thought we would be given all the obvious macro and micro impacts?
I'm going to say yes in answering that. And my reasoning is because in sitting in the various meetings that I sit in and listening to progress on the roadmap and those type of things, I'm not hearing any red flags.
Fear
So
that we're not going to, yeah, okay.
we're progressing.
Okay. All right. I think it's a really important, obviously our modernization efforts are really important. And I just wanted to get a feel for whether we think we're falling behind on this. And if we are, I get why we might be, but just checking.
Well, for example, the first line, the ERP financial system, I'm the sponsor of that project, and everything is green, and we're tracking along exactly as we planned. And that's one of the larger expenditures. So
Good.
to put that perspective on it.
Good. Just looked like we were way under what our spend. So that's why I wanted to check. So, all right.
Well,
I appreciate, go ahead. Sorry, Barry.
Marty, if I can jump in too, some of this is actually when expenses hit the books versus when things get done. So
True.
for instance, we've upgraded the intelligence system upgraded last month, and it's still in progress, but we've made significant work on that. It just hasn't hit the books yet.
Great. Well, thanks for both of you for your explanation. If there are no other questions or comments, we will move to the rulemaking part of the agenda. Okay. Kris.
Thank you, Chair Sathoff, Commissioners, Director Pack. For the record, my name is Kris Skaro, Rules and Policy Analyst for Lottery. We have two quick rulemaking items for you this morning. First up is our restriction of access rule. I reported to you back in October that we wanted to document the process we have used on the fairly rare occasions when we have restricted a person's access to the lottery premises for security and safety concerns. Our Assistant Director for Security, Mike Wells, had recommended documenting the process to ensure consistency and transparency. So we proposed a rule that would explain the types of conduct that can give rise to having access restricted. We require the lottery to provide written notice and an opportunity to appeal. And we require lottery to continually review restrictions to ensure they continue to be warranted. So we have completed the public rulemaking process, which we've documented for the public in the rulemaking report that's in your materials today. For the record, I would highlight a few items. We filed notice with the Secretary of State on October 26th. We notified our interested parties, legislative and media contacts. We gave people 4 weeks to submit comment in writing, and we also held a virtual rulemaking hearing. So we received just one written comment, which I did provide to you and the director in full for your consideration, but briefly to summarize, the comment said that only a third party should be making these decisions. So in response to the comment, we did make a modest amendment to the rule. At the bottom of the rule, we notify folks that they do have a right to request a contested case proceeding, and the purpose of that change is to provide an avenue for judicial review, which would be an impartial third party, but would also allow the lottery to retain authority to make these important security determinations. Our DOJ counsel has reviewed the rule, and the final text is provided in the meeting materials today. Director Pack, of course, has reviewed the rule, considered all comments received, and he does recommend the commission adopt the rule as it's reflected in your materials. So happy to answer any questions on that. Any questions on that one?
I'm sorry, I was on
No.
mute.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Kris, one question I had about the party who commented.
Sure.
I just was wondering, was their comment intended to be wanting a third party decision maker, even when it came to lottery properties?
Yeah, I think so. I think he didn't provide additional comment, but I did respond to him and say, you know, what are you looking for here? I think he thought, well, only someone impartial should be able to
Make the decision at all.
restrict a person from a public building, which I
Huh.
mean, I appreciate the point, and hopefully this is a good middle ground where we do provide an avenue for review, but we do have an obligation, of course, both under the Constitution, but also as employers, to maintain a safe environment. So
Yeah. All right. I just was trying to get a clarification on what they might have meant. So questions or comments from any of the other commissioners? Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt the proposed rulemaking?
I move that OAR 177-010-0105 be adopted as presented in the meeting materials today, to be effective January 1st, 2021.
Thanks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Telfer,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Sathoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. Kris, do you want to talk to us about the additional rule we're looking at now?
yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just one other rulemaking item. So recently we decided to go through all of our rules relating to prize claiming, validation, and payment. We do have a couple dozen rules on these topics that are spread throughout several divisions. We wanted to read them as a whole and just make sure the rules are clear, support our current practices, and are consistent across the various divisions. So we have completed that review. We wanted to propose some changes and then open them up for public comment. So first, we want to clarify prize claiming when lottery is not open to the public. So, which is of course our current state of operation. So generally, we wanted to remove requirements for in-person claiming, except for some of the larger, higher tier prizes. We do explain that although generally players may choose from a variety of claiming methods during emergencies, we may temporarily limit methods that are available. Second, we correct reference to lottery security. As you know, there used to be a single security entity, whereas now we have two separate entities, the Oregon State Police and the Lottery Security Division under Mike Wells. So both parties agreed we should correct that reference in our rule. Third, we have a rule that allows us to debit retailers for certain low-tier video prizes, which is something we did under the old commission structure, so we can get rid of that. Under the new commission structure, we don't need that authority. And then lastly, we want to make some general improvements to the readability and organization of our prize claiming and validation rules. These are admittedly sometimes a bit complicated because we do try to address a variety of circumstances. We also have different requirements for the various games. However, we did think we could make some improvements to help folks more easily understand the requirements. So we do clarify the validation requirements. We grouped the general provisions that apply to the vast majority of prize claims into one section at the top of the general rule. And then we removed some obsolete references, such as to claiming at lottery kiosks or by fax machine, which is not a claiming method that people use. So although the changes are somewhat lengthy, there are not very many substantive changes. We have provided draft rule text and detailed summaries in the materials today for those who are interested. We do have a little bit more work to do on these, but I did want to take time today to let you know that we are working on this and hoping to wrap this up and file a notice very soon, and of course have plenty of time for folks to comment. And I would be back to you on this one in the new year. So that is all I have on this one. I'm happy to discuss further. Otherwise, more to come in the new year.
All right, thanks, Kris. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question, Kris.
Sure.
This rule has a lot of changes, 3 different colors. And so I'm just wondering, as we look forward to other rules that may need to be changed, what was the process that brought this rule to light that it needed to be changed?
Well, I think you're referring to that general prize payment rule, and most of the green is just movement. So it's not new, it's just movement. So it looks like larger changes than it really is. But the process was we had Kathy Ortega and Mike Wells and I reviewed the rules. We just wanted to see, sometimes we get a little bit narrowly focused on our rules and we don't read them as a whole, and we just wanted to make sure they were consistent across all the different divisions. And that was the process we used, and we got together a few times and tried to agree on how we could clarify some of the requirements. So the rule you're talking about that has the most changes, most of that is just some reorganization to particularly for our player services folks who need to, I mean, they really follow these rules every day when they're processing claims, and so trying to make that easier for them to read was our goal. Does that answer your question?
Well, I guess, are we going to go through, I guess what precipitated this rule, or the main rule that we've been talking about? Are we going to go through all of our rules going forward to make sure that they're in line with modern in the way we're actually doing things today?
yeah, I mean, that is the goal. We actually went through many more rules than you see here today. Most of the rules were in pretty good shape, in my opinion, and really support all of our current practice. So it was just a couple that we pulled out that we wanted to do some improvement on. So we went through a lot more rules than you're seeing here today, because most of the rules were in good shape, and we used them all the time. They're regularly updated. So these are the ones that jumped out that we wanted to improve on.
And Commissioner Telfer, if I may, I think part of the the impetus for that too is as we looked longer term at how we managed prize payments during the pandemic, we wanted to make sure that our rules were up to snuff and able to support sort of this longer term transition to appointment settings and coming in at different prize levels and things like that.
Oh, okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Kris Skaro? Right, hearing none, we'll move to the next agenda item, and that's simply other business. I'd just like to open it up to see if there is any other business anyone would like to raise at this time. Okay, this concludes today's meeting of the Oregon State Lottery Commission. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 27. I want to thank you all for attending today's meeting. And again, wish you all a wonderful holiday and a little rest. And let's hope that the new year is bright and offers us a lot of hope. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks all.